Growing up as a racial minority in the US, I felt that a lot of things only happen because of my race. And because of that, you end up equating good and bad things that happen to you solely based on what your race is. And I think that's an extremely unhealthy mindset because I've realized as I've gotten older that good and bad things happen to everyone. Let me give you an example. So, where I live, I'm one of the few Chinese people on the block. And because of that, some people might be jealous, some people might not like us for whatever reason. Sure, like maybe they're not actually overtly racist, but there are some undertones that kind of just happen in our society. So recently, there's been a lot of dog poop outside our house. And if you don't pick it up, you get fined. So your first reaction whenever something bad happens to you like that is, why is it happening to me? And whenever you are a racial minority, sometimes the first thing that pops up in your head is going to be your race. That is just, again, super, super unhealthy. This whole dog poop outside the house thing, it happened many times recently. And then I realized this only started after COVID, which again, adds to the whole race thing because violence against Asian Americans, statistically speaking, has risen since COVID because people associate the virus with China and therefore it associates it with Chinese people, even if they are Chinese American. But then you realize there might be other things contributing to this problem with the whole dog poop outside the house. And when you walk around the city, it just so happens that there's a lot of dog poop just on the street outside a lot of random people's houses. And this might actually be a case of dog owners from COVID because they were lonely or whatever, so they just get a dog for no reason, just are more likely to be irresponsible compared to dog owners of the past where they would always pick up their poop, or like 99% of the time they'd pick up the dog poop. Then you see dog poop just all around the city, and then you're like, hey, wait a minute, it's in front of like other people's buildings too. Maybe they're just not targeting me. But how do you get rid of this bias of thinking that something's always done to you because of your race? I really struggle with this because obviously some of you guys may have seen my affirmative action video. That one I think is actually pretty statistically backed up. And it is just simply harder for Asian Americans to get into schools compared to other races, right? Like statistically, it just makes sense. But why is that the reason I'm jumping to? Because maybe I just suck too, right? Like that could be a reason. But then you start to think, how many other aspects of your life is this bias kind of affecting? And it could get out of control pretty quickly. Obviously, racism does exist in America, no matter what color you are. It could be the majority group, it could be a minority group. Racism happens in all sorts of forms. But how do you get out of that mindset where just everything is about race? I feel like it's just like the focus topic of today's cultural or social environment. And how did this even happen? Maybe when I was a kid, I didn't notice it as much because when you're a kid, you're kind of shielded or like you don't pay attention to that many things. But I remember when I was a kid, I had friends with all races. And then as I got older, it got more and more segmented. Even though I am still friends with people of all races, it definitely skews more one way than the other. Whereas when I was a kid, I feel like it was much more diverse. But that could have also just been by chance based on who I was exposed with early on in life. But yeah, let me know what you guys think about this down in the comments. Have you guys been affected by this bias? Have you jumped to conclusions unfairly? Like, I think the dog poop, I don't think it's like a hate crime or whatever, you know. It's probably just some jackass who just doesn't pick up after their dog and they're doing it all around the city, or at least in my neighborhood, you know. But there are many other examples that I could mention, some of them big, some of them small like this. But it really just boils down to whenever you have something good or bad happen to you, why do we think of race that much?